Who do you think is going to be linebacker 4? Because Blake
Great
Martinez,
question.
Tay Crowder, and Reggie Ragland, I would say were guarantees to make the roster. That means 4 more. So everyone, the other 2 people like that people mentioned is Devontae Downs, who played but played bad, and TJ Brunson, who was a draft pick, who essentially played like 3 reps, and they were meaningless reps. He was rarely active. So I went and looked at the linebackers on the roster because I was literally going to look at free agents. There's this player on there that got signed to a futures deal named Cale Garrett, not Jason Garrett, no relation. Cale Garrett, linebacker from Missouri, 6'2", 234 pounds. He came out in 2020, was an undrafted free agent with the Titans. They cut him at 90-day cuts, and then the Vikings had him on his practice squad, which is funny. Us and the Vikings keep switching
Swapping.
linebackers.
Yes.
I went and watched this guy and looked at some numbers. This guy could be the surprise player for the Giants. Like, Devontae Downs came out of nowhere. Like, we had no expectations. Like, we didn't even really, we look at the roster, but, like, no one would have, like, someone would have said Devontae Downs. You would have had to think about it. I think Cale Garrett could be the surprise, makes the team player of 2021.
Yeah, I mean, usually I feel like those interior linebackers, that's the position out of all positions that guys come out of nowhere. Maybe a wide receiver does well during camp, but our wide receiver depth chart's kind of set, right? So a lot of this, you look up and down this roster, a lot of our roster is kind of set. Offensive linemen don't typically pop off the screen, but interior linebacker, that is a guy that can pop off the screen. Cale Garrett I was watching some videos, and the Tennessee Titans beat reporters liked him for whatever reason, kind of like how the Giants beat reporters, they liked Devontae Downs and they liked talking about Devontae Downs. Titans beat reporters were kind of all over Cale Garrett. He was cut, brought on to the Vikings. If you just look up pictures of Cale Garrett, by the way, he looks like every male actor in a country music video. Not the one who is singing the song, but if there is an actor in the country music video, that is what he looks like. So the one picture that I'm specifically referring to, there's like a Missouri varsity jacket that he has on. He has a scruffy beard. He has like bright green eyes and like kind of dirty blondish hair. And that is exactly like I had this girl in high school, made out with her on the back of my truck, setting for a country music video. Cale Garrett's also
making out with high school girls.
He's also a good football player. What did you just say to me?
You said never mind. It was a dumb joke. So, and this is the position that I always say, if you were the 4th linebacker to start camp, you're going to play. You're going to play every year because it's a position that players just get injured. Like, it's just like, and what happened last year, Justin? David Mayo got hurt. Tay Crowder got hurt. It is every single year. This is a position where the 4th guy on the list is going to get playing time because there's always injuries at the position every single year. So I think if you told me like surprise linebacker 4, it'd be Cale Garrett because, Devontae Downs got benched. Like, they saw him, they let him play, and he sucked, and they benched him. TJ Brunson, I'm not a big fan. We have no idea what the Giants think when he's really got no play time. So Cale Garrett could do it, and he was like a good player at Missouri.
Yeah, he was in 2018. He was at the end of the 2018 season. He made the 2nd All SEC team, and he made PFF's first team in the SEC. And 2019, he was off to a awesome start. He had 40 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions. Two of those interceptions were returned back for a touchdown. And then he had how many fumble recoveries he had? He had 1 fumble recovery. That fumble recovery was returned back for a touchdown. Played 5 games. 5 games put up that production, tore his pec. And then I'm sure that's kind of where his draft stock kind of plummeted. But he would have been drafted if he played his final senior year at Missouri, which he has 4 years of experience. He was a 3-year, 2-year starter, was going to be a 3-year starter. So this is a guy that would have been drafted. And it's very strange, Bobby, when you look up like his kind of combine measurements, in that funny little circle.
He's the weirdest combine I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's like one of the slowest linebackers when it comes to 40-yard dash, but he's one of the most agile linebackers when it comes to like the 3-cone drill, the 10-yard shuttle, 20-yard shuttle, et cetera, et cetera. So he's agile, but he's slow, which, hey, I mean,
he literally had the slowest in 2020. He had the slowest combine. He had the slowest 40 time for linebackers, like this slowest with a 4.92. And then his shuttle was not only first for linebackers, it was seventh in the entire combine. Every cornerback, wide receiver, safety, tight end. He had the seventh fastest with the 4.13. And then in the 3-cone drill, he had the 11th fastest in the entire combine and the second fastest for the linebacker. So it's one of the weirdest combines I've ever seen, where it's like his 40 time is just dirt slow. And then his agility times, which is like you usually don't see discrepancies. Like you'll see a guy that's like runs a great 40 time, but his shuttle's not great, like maybe like a DK Metcalf style. But you rarely see a guy have an elite, shuttle and 3-cone, and their 40 is the worst. It just doesn't make sense. And like you said, at Mizzou, like he put up numbers, in 2018 to 17, had over 200 tackles, 16 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, and that's what he does. Is he's a do-it-all type of linebacker.
Yeah,
like he plays the run well. He's even got like a little bit of pass rush ability, and he has good instincts and coverage. Like you mentioned, the interceptions. I was watching Missouri versus West Virginia. He caused another interception by getting in a throwing lane, tipping the ball up, and then the safety got it, and that was returned for a touchdown too, by the way. So like, I think if I were to do my 53-man roster, I think I'd put him as inside linebacker 4, like over T.J. Brunson and Devontae Downs. So I just, Cale Garrett, I think that's more of the story. Keep an eye out for that guy. Keep an eye out for that name in training camp, because
look at us.
Out of all these random players I went through, I was like, Cale Garrett, he's the one that sticks out to me.